This story, I checked out the theme today, halfway through the day, even though last night I had some espresso at like 7 p.m. and could not sleep all night. And I took off of work to come to this, and I was like, I'll practice my story in bed, because I'm not going to go to sleep all night. And I was like, okay, I'm going to think of all the angles of this story that can apply to any theme. And so I had a dream, and I was like, okay, this is a good articulation of how maybe I'm going to go with the homeschooling thing that happened to me until 9th grade, where you dream that the world works in maybe a different way than it does. It's still going good. Still going good for me. This transpired about 3 to 4 days after I graduated from college. Took me about 5 years, and so and I had a part-time job all the way through it, and right after I graduated, I was still in that euphoric zone of like putting the pencil down and realizing I could never take a test again if I didn't want to. Like, I could never be evaluated in any way ever again if I didn't want to. And I am super studious when I'm in school, and I really in the zone and not really a drinker, and never really went out with my roommates during college. But now I was done. So I went out every night for 4 nights. But I'm so OCD that I was like, after college you become an alcoholic. Oh no! I'll never be able to regain my composure again. I'm such a stupid person. And I did that thing 3 or 4 nights in a row after college, where you stay until the lights come on. And I kind of conceive of myself as this fancy lady, and that's not really very proper for a fancy lady to be out when the lights come on. That's super hoary, like this see-through shirt I'm wearing. And so this was day 4 of Lights Come On Bar with my friend Amy Hobecky, who did this every night, college or not. And so we're leaving this bar. I'm really bad at drinking a lot, and so even though I'm staying out till the lights come on, I'm never really drunk. And and she's very drunk. She's really good at drinking. And we leave together, and I'm about to get in the car and drive home, which is a mile away. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to drive home. And she's like, you can't drive home. You're too drunk. And I was like, no, you're too drunk. You're confused. You're projecting onto me. And it was me and her and another roommate who was mezzo drunk. So she's like, you're too drunk. And I was like, this is how not drunk I am. I'm going to prove it to you. And there were these cops across the street, because we were in downtown Richmond, Virginia. There's usually cops right at that kind of intersection. And I was like, well, let's just check this out. This is how life works. Dreaming. I'm just gonna go ask them to breathalyze me and give me all the tests that you would do if you got pulled over before I get in the car. Totally did this. So whenever these guys are in their 20s, I felt so normal about this. In retrospect, it is such a ridiculous thing to do. So absurd. So I come up and I'm like, hey, what's up? I feel really good about the way that I've metabolized my liquor tonight. I would like to tell you about what I've drank, and I would like you to give me your test if you're not busy. And they were like, oh my god, most interesting thing that happened to me tonight. Sure, girl. And so I was like, okay, at 11 I had a beer, and from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. I've had a highball. I think I had 2 drinks. And I was like, I really feel fine. I feel great about getting in the car. Let's find out. So they did all the tests, and we started walking the line, and we started doing the alphabet backwards, And Amy Hovecki, my friend that's really good at drinking, has an art education degree, and this insatiable curiosity for life and asking questions and like being a part of like figuring out, like, she's just amazing. So she's that as a person plus drunk, and sees this and is like, ooh, I want to play too. And she's like, do me. I'm not going to drive, but do me. And so like I'm doing the walk, you know, and I'm like great at it because I'm not drunk. And she's not good at it, but she's like, check it out, I'm trying really hard. And they're like looking at me like, yeah, she shouldn't drive. And so we do the backwards alphabet, and we do some kind of like Chinese finger trap thing, and like I didn't know that these were the tests. So this is like a great, interesting thing to me. And so we do all these, and I'm asking questions, we're interacting, and then finally they're like, okay, follow the pin. And, you know, they do the pin all the way to your peripheral. And they were like, actually, this is the main test that we look at. Because, let's say someone can maybe fake through some of those other things and you know, have control of their faculties in that way. But you cannot control whether or not your pupil or your iris, like, vibrates when it gets to the extreme peripheral. So Amy and I are like, fascinating, oh my god. And like, so we do this whole thing, and Amy does it, and I do it, and so at the end, he's like, yeah, you're fine. And Amy's eyes like all wonky, and she can't drive. And we just kind of have a jolly old time. We like are chatting about like, what's the drunk take like, and like, if I had failed this, like, what would happen. And they, you know, tell you like, you know, where you would go, what part of town, and like one phone call, and who you would be with, and pee in a hole, or whatever it was. It was like, oh geez, that sounds terrible, yeah, I'll never do that. And I'm sure we shook hands. It was like this whole thing. They were like, Miss Peel, you're cool, get in your car, this is funny, be safe. So go and get in my car, and we're like pulling out, and I put my blinker on, and we're like driving out. Of course, like there's still that like tittering of girls being like, ah, let's go back, we just did that, blah blah blah. And we go half a block, and I see some lights, and and I was like, oh, like my taillight's out or something, you know, like that's the same people, like they're pulling me over, they're gonna let me know something's not safe. And I pull over, and I'm in the car, and I've got this big cheesy smile on my face. I'm like, oh yeah, what is it? And the same guy comes up to the window, and I roll the window down. He's like, ma'am, can I see your license registration? Do you know why I pulled you over? I was like, no, I don't know why. Why? And he's like, ma'am, have you been drinking tonight? And I was like, yeah, you know, Barry, or like whoever it is that I know now. I'm like, yeah, I told you, like I had a beer, and I had a highball, we just did all those tests. And he's like, I'm waiting on the license and registration, ma'am. And so I turned to Amy, who's in the front seat. He was like looking at me like, what the fuck? And I'm like, all right, can you pass me those things? And I give it to him, and I was like, this is funny. And he's like, ma'am, can you step outside of the car? And I was like, oh, we're gonna do it all again? And he's like, I'd like you to walk in a straight line for me. And literally proceed to do every test again. And I am like so irreverent the whole time. I'm like, oh yeah, you remember earlier when I messed up on NQRP and now I know it? Like, because we just did this? And like, I'm so annoyed. And then he is like every time I reference like 1 minute ago, his face is like stone cold. And I'm noticing that my friends are not like indignant with me. Like they're just kind of static right now. I don't really understand why they're not like coming to my rescue. Like, this is the same girl. And so we like get to the eye pin thing, and like I'm actually starting to get a little like freaked out. And then he says, ma'am, are you under the influence of any drugs this evening? Have you taken any substances? And I was like, whoa, no, like, I would have told you if I smoked weed before, like, I did that whole thing. That would be crazy for me to do that. And he's, like, sticking with the story, wants to know if I did drugs. And turns out his partner went around the side to my friends and was like, watch how scared your friends get. Went to my friends and, like, tipped them off from the very beginning. And was like, we're gonna fuck your friends so hard. And they were loving it. And they were like, oh, Chad, you're our favorite cop in town. And they were, like, having a little funny powwow through the back of the car watching me, just, like, shaking and freaking. And, like, this is the moment where I'm like, life doesn't, like, work. Like, you think you have this agreement with adults and they fuck you. I just finished college. Like, this is how the world works. And finally, in some random ass moment while we're doing the test, he just goes, I'm fucking with you. And I was so mad. I was so mad. But, like, the worst thing about the whole episode is that, like, I am so jealous of the moment that they got back in their car and were like, dude, let's pull her over and do it all